The folks in the UK and Ireland who enjoy Premier League soccer, which, by the way, returned to NBCSN recently, they don't wear helmets, so it's not an issue. But it is an issue in the NFL, and what you need to know this morning happens directly in the heart of Hard Knocks country, although I have a feeling we're not going to hear much about this on Tuesday night's edition of the program. Antonio Brown threatening to retire from the National Football League if he's not allowed to wear his helmet of choice. The problem is his helmet of choice is outdated. It's more than 10 years old. It can't be recertified by the independent helmet certification industry that allows this thing to continue to be worn. It's too late. It's done. Now, Antonio Brown has to pick another helmet from the approved menu of NFL and NFLPA authorized helmets. He refuses to do it. He's filed a grievance. A hearing happened on Friday, and a decision is expected this week, Chris. I can't imagine he's going to win. And I have no idea what this guy's going to do. I would like to think that if he loses, he just picks a helmet and moves on. Because if he doesn't, he's given up $30 million in guaranteed money this year and next year. This is crazy. This is ridiculous. And I hope there's someone out there that can talk some sense into Antonio Brown.
Yeah, if he quits football over the helmet thing, then Crazyville's got a new mayor, okay? I know that. No joke there. But the first thing I think we got to hit on, Mike, was this whole thing, and then him now trying to hold the NFL liable, right? To say that if he does get hurt wearing a new helmet, he wants to hold them liable. I mean, you as a lawyer, that's the first thing I want to ask. Is there any grounds to stand on there? That doesn't seem to make sense that, I'm going to wear a safer helmet, and if I get hurt in that, I'm going to hold the NFL liable as compared to I'm wearing this old junky one that's now been outlawed because it's more than 10 years old. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Does that make any sense?
It makes no sense whatsoever.
Okay,
and here's the saying, and I wrote about this yesterday, mentioned in the radio hour. Early in law school, they teach you, if you have the facts, pound on the facts. If you have the law, pound on the law. If you have neither, pound on the table. And this argument that was fashioned by his legal team and deliberately leaked to Daniel Kaplan and The Athletic to try to create, I guess, some sort of public support for this idea that the NFL is going to be in trouble if Antonio Brown has to wear one of these other approved helmets after millions of dollars of research from the NFL and the NFLPA jointly working together to identify the safest possible headgear for players. This notion that if you don't let me wear my old outdated helmet and I get injured wearing one of the helmets that you have determined is safe for use, or at least as safe as it can possibly be, given that it's football and injuries are potentially going to happen, that you're going to be responsible for that? It's Chris, let me just boil it down. Let me boil it down to one issue. Yeah. Here's what's going to be impossible for Antonio Brown to prove if it ever comes to it. He's never going to be able to prove that the injury that happened wearing one of the NFL and NFLPA approved helmets wouldn't have happened if he was wearing his crappy old outdated helmet that is too old to be certified for continued use. It's called causation. How do you prove that the decision to force him to wear this helmet caused the injury? And here's the bigger picture, too. Put it in a different setting. I mentioned this on the radio side. If you have a guy who's working in a construction setting and he's got this hard hat from the 70s that he's got some connection to, it's his lucky hard hat, right? But it's unsafe. And his union has worked with management to come up with a safe alternative that he must wear. It's part of the equipment. You must wear this.
Yes.
And he says, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to file a grievance to let me wear my crappy old outdated helmet. That's how ridiculous this is. And folks, here's the bottom line. If he doesn't want to wear the helmet, he doesn't have to wear the helmet. He doesn't have to play football. He can give up the $30 million if he truly does not want to wear the helmet. That's what makes this so crazy, Chris.
Yes, extremely crazy. And I'll say this. As a football player, I know that we are creatures of habits. I certainly was too. I love my own, my own style of shoulder pads and my own thigh pads that I wanted to wear. And, you like everything exactly what makes you feel comfortable, one. And then two, you love things that you had success in to continue to wear those things because you think, oh, gosh, a little superstition, and you think that might bring you some good luck here or there. Now, okay, I get all of that. Okay, that's great. But These new helmets, first off, they're more comfortable than these 10-plus-year-old helmets that Antonio Brown's wearing. Plus, I think the other aspect that I just think is funny is Antonio Brown, he's all into, being faster, being quicker, doing all those things. I mean, it is documented that all these new helmets are much lighter, really, than any of these old helmets that I used to wear or the one that Antonio Brown's wearing, too. So even from a competitive standpoint, it makes sense to wear the new helmet, let alone the safety impact of the whole thing, too. To me, I think that's what's also just kind of funny about this, because you would think Antonio Brown would want to feel good and take a pound or two off of his body so he could feel just a little faster.
And if you're watching on NBCSN or Sky Sports, you'll see the B-roll, industry term, of Antonio Brown in his Schutt Air Advantage. It was discontinued by Schutt in 2011, and that's the problem. The version that he has is more than 10 years old and can't be recertified. And watch this one. Here, see what he does? He checks his look in the mirror. You see that, Chris?
Yes, I do.
This is a vanity play in part.
No
he
doubt.
doesn't like how he looks in these other helmets. These newfangled helmets make players look like the Great Gazoo. He doesn't want to look like the Great Gazoo. He wants to look like AB. And the other side of it is, don't tell me what to do. No one has told this guy what to do ever since he became a star player. He hasn't heard the word no from anyone. And when it finally fell apart in Pittsburgh, he was able to fashion it into, you didn't break up with me, I broke up with you. You didn't want to get rid of me, I wanted to get rid of you. And he got his way, and he got $30 million in guaranteed money from the Raiders. So I think it's a combination of vanity and ego that is driving this guy, with a healthy dose of flat-out stupidity that is preventing him from recognizing all he's got to do is show up and wear a helmet, and he gets his $30 million. And that's how simple it is. He doesn't have to play well. He doesn't have to be the old AB. He just has to show up for work, wear the helmet, step on the field, and he's going to make $30 million over the next 2 years, no matter how well or poorly he plays.
Well, this is now the next question, because you kind of hit on it. He's a master manipulator. We've already seen that. I mean, this is the guy that, as you just mentioned, squeezed his way out of Pittsburgh and pulled off a deal that we have never seen anybody pull off in the NFL. True gangster move, for lack of a better phrase, right there, to do that. But the next thing I want to ask you, do you think that this is a scam, a farce, or whatever, just to take away from the foot issue that maybe he's embarrassed about? I'm just throwing things out there. I don't know. I'm trying to dive into the mind of Antonio Brown. Is it a distraction because he is embarrassed? Does that cross your mind at all? Or do you think he's just crazy altogether?
It's definitely been a distraction to the frozen foot issue. That's for damn sure, because we're not talking about the frozen feet. But, apparently this helmet thing has been lingering since April. I can't help but wonder whether or not the frozen foot thing has been a distraction to the helmet issue. I don't know. It's distraction on top of distraction. It's impossible to unpack it all and figure out exactly what's going on. But, when he walked into that cryotherapy chamber in France, Chris, he knew that helmet thing was looming. What better way than to delay the inevitable than to maybe come out of there with feet that got a little, over-frozen in the cryotherapy machine, and all of a sudden you can't practice while you work this thing out. I don't know whether or not he's capable of that kind of a diabolical plan. The whole thing really is one of the craziest stories that I can remember. And I know the recency of it makes it seem a little more nutty. It's still going to be something that when we look back on it 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, we're going to say, man, was that nutty? The guy's the guy's got to wear a helmet. And player after player have transitioned into these helmets. That's how the world works if you're playing football. The helmets improve. They become safer, at least relatively safe, because there's no way to completely eliminate the possibility of a concussion, but you can still make a safer helmet that is easier for the player to use. Like you said, it can be lighter, and this whole thing it boggles the mind that Antonio Brown has found himself in this spot. And Chris, I can't help but wonder whether at some level this is also an attempt to build in an excuse ahead of time if he isn't AB anymore. If it's, the offense, the team, Derek Carr, hey, it's not me, it's this stupid helmet. I'd still be AB if I could wear my old helmet. I can't see the ball. I don't feel like myself anymore. This just doesn't work. It's not me. It's the helmet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll go that far. I'm not throwing anything out. Yeah, I'm not going to say you're crazy there because I never thought we would be sitting here talking about this 12 minutes into a show on a Monday and it's still the same subject or even this subject to begin with. And I really, hey, another thing just to unpack this whole thing, gosh, what are the Oakland Raiders and management thinking right now? I mean, they got to be a little bit in this this funk of, oh gosh, what did we get ourselves into? We knew this guy had some personality issues and was tough to handle. But I would love to be in a fly in a room with Mike Mayock and John Gruden right now because we've heard it's been late for meetings and all of these other antics. And then, of course, not being out there for practice. And he's got the Raiders by the proverbial you-know-what down below right now because, yeah, because they've vested so much into him with money and sold him as their guy. And this is our new toy. And the offense is going to be around him. And he's the greatest practice player I've ever seen. So from that standpoint too, the Raiders are going to be a little tongue-tied because they got to be careful what they say. They want to make sure this works because it looks bad on the coaches and the GM if it doesn't.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.